Justin Dargin is a nuclear analyst with the Belfer Center for Science and International Affairs at Harvard University, and he joins us from Dubai. Justin, thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
When we look at the broad impact this crisis in Japan is going to have on the nuclear industry, the nuclear energy industry, I should say, outside of Japan, is there going to be a big rethink on the use of nuclear energy? We're already seeing Germany in Europe having a rethink, talking about a reassessment about building new plants. In the United States, people in Congress are talking about reassessing those nuclear plants the United States has on the West Coast. So when we look at nuclear energy in the future, is it going to be with a very different eye?
Well, yes, the nuclear energy industry has taken an enormous hit due to the Fukushima crisis. I mean, so right now, as you correctly indicated, we see Germany has been rethinking reassessing its nuclear plans for extending the life of certain nuclear plants. We also see Switzerland as well has suspended many of its plans. And also Poland and Italy have given a comprehensive reassessment for its plans, its prior plans to invest in nuclear plants. So across the industry, there has been quite a substantive impact. Although I think that we must remember that there are two types of impacts that can occur. One impact is that there is the short-term knee-jerk reaction whereby people are quite rightly afraid of nuclear energy and might not want it near their communities and so on. Although the longer-term impact, I think, is going to be more along the lines of what occurred in the U.S. If you remember President Nixon, he promised that by the year 2000 there would be over 1,000 nuclear power plants in the U.S. And then what happened in the interim? We had 3 Mile Island and also the Chernobyl disaster. So as a result, there are only 104 functioning nuclear power plants in the U.S. So this had a definitive impact in terms of 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl on the nuclear industry. And I think Fukushima is going to have the same type of impact.
What kind of impact is the disaster in Japan going to have on other sources of energy, talking specifically about things like oil, liquefied natural gas, for instance?
Well, in terms of liquefied natural gas, which is the predominant energy source outside of nuclear for Japanese power generation, we already see that the Japanese have already reached out to try to import much more LNG to cover the energy shortfalls that they've experienced from having Fukushima offline. So just within a period of about a week since Fukushima went offline, we've seen a rise in LNG spot prices in the Asian market. Now, this is going to increase for the short term and midterm as Japan increasingly turns to liquefied natural gas in order to power its electricity sector. So we're going to see much more demand emanating from Japan in the near to long term, and we're going to see a steady decrease in terms of Japan's dependence on nuclear energy.
What about the situation in the Middle East? We look at countries like Iran, which is building a nuclear facility, it says, is for energy purposes. Others see it differently. They say Iran wants to build nuclear weapons. But if we look at the Iranian, one of the nuclear facilities they are building, it lies along a fault line in an area that is prone to earthquakes. Is that going to be looked at in a very different way by not just Iranians, but neighboring countries as well?
Oh, absolutely. It already has. I mean, years ago, some of Iran's neighbors have complained that one of the major threats of the Iranian nuclear program is not just predicated on weaponization of its uranium enrichment, but it's actually predicated on the fact that Iran does not have high safety standards for its nuclear plants. So in the face of any natural disaster, the entire region, the Gulf region, could be basically afflicted with a wide degree of radioactive contamination. So now we start to see many of Iran's neighbors are looking at the potential impact for a natural disaster to spread radioactive material in the region. So we see a shift from the concern about the weaponization of the Iranian nuclear program to a safety issue whereby the Bushehr plant in Iran lies on a very seismically active area of the western coast of Iran, and it's quite close to its Gulf neighbors as well. And then now these Gulf countries are thinking, what will we do in the instance of some type of earthquake, major earthquake that releases a lot of radioactive material into the atmosphere and which lands on the territory of the Gulf?
All right, thank you, Justin. Justin Dargin there, talking to us from Dubai. Now, the disaster in Japan